The Port of Seattle is stepping up efforts to combat sexual assault in airplanes in light of 2 recent arrests.
The port has launched a new awareness campaign inside SeaTac, and major airlines like Alaska are also taking some new steps to address the issue. Natalie Brand is live in the newsroom with some of the changes that were discussed today. Natalie?
And Greg, Lori, soon you will see signs in the airport to raise awareness about this issue that's now getting a lot of attention, and that's in part because of victims who have come forward with their stories, including Allison DeValize, who launched a campaign to change how these cases are handled.
I appeal to the airline industry and to lawmakers to listen to us, to hear us, and to respect us, and to appreciate the need for action, the need for protocols. In addition to training for crew, it's essential that airlines train all their staff so that if one of these incidents is reported after a flight, it's not treated as if it's lost luggage. It must absolutely be flagged and raised up immediately.
And Allison says her incident occurred on a Delta flight back in 2016. She says her attacker was never identified or investigated, and she wants to make sure that's not the case for other victims. Flight attendants unions and airlines such as Alaska have stepped up their own training now of how to respond to sexual harassment or assault in the air. Alaska has also added a new harassment reporting feature on their internal safety reporting app used by flight crew. Meanwhile, Washington Senator Patty Murray, after hearing Allison's story from years back, introduced legislation that would require airlines to implement specific training programs, as well as establish a task force to help develop these new guidelines industry-wide. She's now trying to get that language included in the FAA reauthorization bill that will go before Congress at the end of the month. There has been a significant increase in the number of reported aircraft sexual assaults nationwide. As for how you can protect yourself if an incident occurs on your flight, here's some advice from flight attendant Terry Taylor.
The call button, if they are able to move, get up, go contact the flight attendants. If they're not able to move, frequently all-night flights tend to have all seats occupied and people are sleeping. If you can get someone near you to assist you, get anyone's attention.
And flight attendants say that they will then request that law enforcement meet that flight on the ground. A few weeks ago, we told you about 2 recent arrests for aircraft sexual assault on planes headed into SeaTac. The Seattle FBI field office says since January, it's reviewed around a dozen incidents of reported sexual assault on aircraft. Back to you.